Howdy, Ken. How you doing today?
Doing good. Doing good. Sporting my truth shirt here.
Yeah, the truth with Gary Baker of the Affiliate Files, episode 33. It's amazing to me. It's the year 2022, and this whole idea of what Facebook is now the metaverse or whatever, and just everything is artificial intelligence or AI, and you don't need to do anything anymore. All your content can be created by robots. Do you really think robots are ready to take over for us as affiliate marketers in the world that we live in and in the things that we do as we create content for those affiliate products that we're trying to sell?
Right now I feel that they're not even close. They're scratching the surface. They're scratching the surface of what AI can do. But is it ready to take over? No, I think people want them to take over because it's going to open up a lot of avenues for those who have a difficult time creating content. But there's certain limitations with AI, and I don't think you can really recreate the human experience. Not yet, not yet. So right now I think AI is useful. It's helpful to us, but I don't feel it's ready to take over. How about you?
Yeah, well, I think the idea of it here is first to step back and define what AI is. Artificial intelligence. Like how intelligent is this artificial intelligence? I know I'm pretty sure you've done some like deep dive into this. GP3, for example, generative pre-trained transformer 3, an auto-regressive language model that uses deep learning to produce human-like text. Human-like text. So this AI, when someone says, oh, it's an AI, it does all the work for you, is that really what people think it is when you actually dig into like this GP3, this language model that produces human-like text? Is it actually thinking and creating content for you, or is it just giving you what you want to read?
That's a difficult one without actually diving into what it really is. On a surface, I know what it is. Um, it's there still has to be some level of input from whoever is running the open source AI, the code, right? I guess it's some kind of code, but you still have to train it. You still have to feed it with information. So it's not something that really thinks on its own, other than I feel it reacts to whatever you give it. And based on whatever parameters you set in whatever application you use, the output is then somewhat predefined as what you're going to get in the output. But this comes at to me when they have to add in whatever content that you are typing in, other content that they get, and they have to feed that to the AI so the AI understands the context. And I'm using air quotes on the first one here, the context of what of what you're talking about.
So I think that's a big disconnect right there, in my opinion. And of course, on the marketing side or inside the marketing world that we live in, as affiliate marketers, we know what happens when you try to promote a product, right? You sort of pump it up, for lack of a better way to phrase it, or really a good marketing spin at this point, right? But the idea here is artificial intelligence. It just gets thrown around. AI is going to do this for you. It's going to do that for you. It's going to create the content for you. But you hit the nail on the head, right? You have to feed it. You have to give it a direction to go. It's not going to just be like, okay, well, I'm going to type in, I want to sell widget X to customer A. Okay, AI, give me everything I need. Give me my emails, give me my sales copy, give me my YouTube script. I think a lot of people will think that that's what happens, and then to bring that back too is you sort of reminded me of, and we were talking about this earlier, as we always do sort of in the pre-podcast sort of chat. We were talking about our early days of, programming in basic language and learning like how to give a computer instructions. And there was this concept of garbage in, garbage out.
Yeah. I just feel like AI, I think people want AI to do the work for them, but in reality, AI is just not there yet. It's eventually, is it going to get there? I'm sure it will, but like Gary had mentioned, you can't just type in a phrase and it will automatically understand the context for which you are trying to write this article or the email. Some of the AI programs out there, you can enter in a keyword that you're targeting and add in just a little bit of context, maybe a short phrase or something, and then the AI will reach back, I guess, into the AI universe and pull out this information and spit it out for you. And I've tried some of these, and the output is not even close to what I want it to be. And so I feel like you had mentioned earlier, you've got to feed it that information. You have to give it that context, and it's hard really to emulate the human experience, human emotion, that connection that we can build with one another when we communicate. That's, to me, something that artificial intelligence probably will do sometime later on down the road. But there's so much more to it than just typing in a keyword and getting out this output that you're gonna get in 10 or 15 minutes or even half an hour, and you're gonna have this article. Because to me, there are certain things that you have to do as a human being to make sure that what's being put out there is actually true and correct.
So that last phrase, to make sure that the content that's created is true and correct. So as an affiliate marketer, when you produce content, and we've talked a little bit about this here on the podcast about creating content or getting content created for you, even using private label rights content, content that you purchase a license to use. Even inside of AI, if you generate this content, at some point you have to sit back and you have to say, okay, how much time am I going to invest into this process? So you'd mentioned that you'd looked at some of this AI, and of course I have too, some of the different products, and I've been really impressed by a lot of it. But I think that's like anything. When you see a demonstration, just like in the world of affiliate marketing, when we demonstrate a product because we want to sell it, we usually show the good stuff, right? The sham wow, right? Soaks up all that liquid. You know what I mean? It doesn't leave a few drops on the side, right? If they do, then cut, let's do it again, right?
Yeah.
And I've seen these AIs do this, and they do it for a very specific piece of content. And it's been trained, the AI has been trained, that, language model, that program has been trained, and it's been used by this person to understand what it is they want. And it's been giving them the output that they want based upon this time that they've spent, lots of time, right? And I think this is the problem. This is the problem with everything in the world of, we live in, especially in the internet marketing niche, when they take a technology that has a lot of, promise, or there's a lot here that it's going to be able to do. But when you put the marketing spin on it, it's a shortcut. But then, you get into this world of a shortcut of a shortcut, and you start shortcutting the shortcuts.
Yeah.
And you go back, it doesn't matter where this content comes from. And I've actually seen this. I've had people say this in certain groups. They want to buy content, but they go, but I don't want it to come from an AI. Well, if the AI is good and the person that using the AI is good at using the AI, how are you going to know that it came from an AI? And does it matter?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it you're absolutely right though. If the person that's using the AI to produce that content, if they are skilled enough at using the program that they're using to produce that content, then I don't think it really matters. I do think though that you still, with anything that you outsource, you still have to read through it. You still have to make it your own. You have to add your spin on it, your voice to it. And to me, it's not something that you can just get from AI and all of a sudden you're just gonna print it out. I think there are certain people will probably do that. They'll use that verbatim, and to me, you're doing yourself as well as your customer, your subscriber, your follower a disservice when you do that. Because to me, people follow you because you're a trusted resource for whatever issues or problems that they're looking for. And they follow you because you provide this information. So even if you do get information from PLR or from even AI that created the PLR, I mean, it's still worth going through that information, making sure that it's correct, factually correct, and then adding your voice and your emotion, your spin on it to make it your own. So there is some level of work involved in that. But to me, if the person that's using the AI is really skilled at doing it, and with anything that you do, it takes time, right? I know you and I talked about using other programs, and it was hard to get into it because it takes a lot of time to get skilled at it. And for us, it's at least I know for me, I can speak for myself that I rather just sit there and stare at the computer screen and the cursor blinking in front of my face until my eyes bleed, and then I start writing. It's just something that I just like going through that process rather than putting that idea inside of AI and using AI to do that. Don't get me wrong, AI has its place in terms of providing you with inspiration and ideas. But again, at the end of the day, it falls upon you as a marketer that's building trust with your audience to take that information and really leverage it with your own voice.
So we'll go back to creating content or getting content created for you, which is what AI is. AI is outsourcing content creation. So if you're outsourcing that actual creation of the content, what does that do for your role in your business? How do you use that content? So you go from the person that creates the content, but you're also the person that has to edit the content at the end of the day. So you have to be the technical editor. You also have to you have to make sure that the content is correct, like factual, right? Yeah. So at the end of the day, the time that you're investing in learning this tool, does it help you with those other processes? So can learning how to create content using AI and learning how to train your specific AI doesn't matter, right? Brand name is irrelevant. It doesn't matter if it's the Coke AI, the Pepsi AI, the Apple AI, the Microsoft AI. It's the one that you choose at the end of the day, and you put that time in it. So it would be the same as buying good PLR. It'd be the same as finding a good team of writers that you outsource to. At the end of the day, you're going to have to take that content and you're going to have to check it. You're going to have to make sure that it's the content that you want and the voice that you want it in, that it matches your tone, that it matches what your brand stands for, your ethos. It doesn't matter if it comes from AI. It doesn't matter if it comes from what is this infinite monkey theorem, right? Like, if 20,000 monkeys typed for a lifetime, at the end of their lifetime, they would create Shakespeare. They would recreate Shakespeare.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
If you're going to create content and you're going to use that content, or if you're going to get content created for you and you're going to use that content in your business, at the end of the day, it falls on you to figure out how to get it created, where to get it created, how to get it edited. I mean, you may outsource an editor. It's kind of like using spell checker. Do you remember what it was like before spell checker?
Dictionary.
Yeah, right. And then how did you find the word? You had, well, how do I spell this word? You didn't even know where to start. Yeah. It's all about knowing where to start, in my opinion. Yeah. Knowing where to start and understanding that it is just a start. It's a starting point. Yeah. And it's up to you to figure out how to get the AI, the machine, to work for you. We talked earlier, like I said, in the pre-podcast, we were talking about technology, and I brought up Luddites. You know what I mean? Just the idea of people that are, dead set against technology. Because there are tons of people out there that are just dead set against technology. For example, a kiosk to order a burger at McDonald's.
Yeah.
There are people who go, oh, I'm never going to use one of those, or the self-check machine or whatever. I mean, it doesn't matter, right? At the end of the day, if you get what you want out of that process, then I'm all for it.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think it's up to each individual to decide what you want to get out of it. whether it be a complete blog post, then you've got to work towards that. You've got to learn how to use the AI tool in order to get to that point. Or do you use it for inspiration and coming up with a headline or a topic or an outline for an article? I think in those instances, absolutely. I'm all for inspiration because sometimes that's what it takes, right? It's that one spark where you realize, oh yeah, that's a great angle to start off an email with or my blog post. So I think by compiling all that information and utilizing it that way, like I'm all for that. Am I for it when it comes to writing complete articles? I'm not completely sold on that. I do believe, and depending on, again, let's say you are in a niche that deals with medical or health related issues. I mean, it can be risky to put all of your eggs in that AI basket and believe that the output that's coming out and this output comes out regarding diabetes or something else, that it's going to be factual. I mean, you still have to go through and determine when you're going to use that. If you're going to write an article about how to eat healthy, sure, most of that stuff, most of it's probably going to be common sense to you anyway. But when it comes to more, let's say, medical or engineering or technical stuff, and I think it's a little bit takes a little bit more time for you to go through and double check to make sure that the information that's provided is factual. Because again, to me, it's all about building relationships, right, in affiliate marketing and building up that trust factor with your audience. And I think by doing the double checking and the work, I think obviously you're going to maintain that relationship. But yeah, when it comes to inspiration, I got no problem with using AI at all. But you gotta ask yourself, what do I want to get out of using AI?
So for the inspiration, as far as inspiration to create content, that also moves into the models. So like in marketing, the AI, the AIDA
Data.
model,
Mhm.
AIDA, right? Awareness, interest, desire, action. That's one of the models. There's many of them. So I think AI and these tools can help you when you want to utilize those types of models. AI is also good, I think, from what I've seen in these demonstrations and some of the stuff that I've tried to use it for. And again, I think a lot of that falls on how much time you want to invest
Yeah.
into, these models versus just understanding the model yourself, you know. And there's tons of free online tools that sort of do this same thing, right? And I think one of the big disconnects as well is when you buy an AI tool, and a lot of times it doesn't get talked about until you get inside of the tool, is plagiarism and
Yeah.
checking the content.
Yeah.
Because you have to understand that these models, these computers, this AI, this artificial intelligence, it is going back and it is referencing content that's already been created by someone or by some other computer. And once content has been created, that content has been created, it is somebody else's content. And if it pulls this content, even if it's just trying to learn from these other sources, you have to understand that it's not just creating this content from scratch. It's not those 20,000 monkeys typing randomly, right? It's
Mhm.
literally pulling this content from the internet. And that content, it's taking it and, for lack of a better word, spinning it and recreating a different type of content. But at some point, you're going to have overlap and it's just going to give you the exact same thing. And that is very easily seen plagiarism. Don't you think?
Yeah. And I think that's another thing that you brought up a very important point is that you really need to double check the content that comes out, the output, to make sure that you're not plagiarizing that content. And it comes to a point where I guess some articles, I mean, you're going to talk about the same thing. There's only so many ways you can say something, a fact or some other kind of phrase, but it is definitely worth double checking and utilizing those like copyscape and using that to double check your content just to make sure that you do have some unique content in there. Because like Gary had mentioned, eventually you're going to come across content that's already been written, and heaven forbid it's something that has been copyrighted, and you just don't want to have to deal with that kind of stuff. So there's a lot of stuff, there's a lot of things to think about, a lot of factors that you have to think about when you use AI. But again, does it serve its purpose? Absolutely. I think in terms of inspiration, for sure. In terms of writing something that's really long and drawn out, and maybe, just posting it as your own, sure, you could do that, but again, you got to double check what's being written to make sure that everything is, everything's above board.
I think it could just make you lazy at the end of the day.
Yeah.
It's just going to be, you're going to have it generating 4,000, 6,000, 10,000 word blog posts around a topic. And it may know that topic well, but it's not the story that you're telling. It's not the story that's going to connect you with your audience.
Yeah.
So I think you just have to be careful, and it's going to make you lazy, and it's going to create filler content at the end of the day,
Yeah.
And if you go back and you look at like SEO of the old days, people would build these blogs and then they would just put this content in, and literally that's what it was. It was just to fill up the blog. It was to hold, placeholders. It was just to, let Google at the time know that this blog has a lot of information. So that makes me an authority. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it was seen sort of in those days, in that time, that you could create these different levels of content, and you had the third and fourth, fifth, sixth level of content that was really just a bunch of words that were just words to fill in the fact and let Google know, hey, I have more content about this than anyone else does. And I think you could run into that with AI, letting this automated engine, especially if you buy into some of these tools and you get these unlimited, resources for it to create this unlimited, just, untapped, just 20,000 word blog post.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, you have to read those 20,000 words. You have to interlink those 20,000 words. As an affiliate marketer, you have to have those 20,000 words get people from where they are, the problem that they currently have, to the solution that you're trying to get them to, which is your affiliate link. So don't forget those pieces along the way.
Yeah. And I think when you had mentioned lazy, that I had to totally agree with you on that. To me, it's and maybe I'm old school about it, but I like the struggle. I like the struggle. I like to be able to overcome that struggle on my own. And there's just a sense of satisfaction that I did it on my own, and that experience that I get. Um, have I used AI tools? I have. I've had it in terms of just inspiration on maybe just how to write a specific sentence a certain way, or an idea of a topic, but I haven't really used it, I guess, for in the way some people want it to be used, which is just to produce whatever you want it to do on autopilot just by feeding it a keyword. I haven't gotten to that stage, just because I just feel the human factor is one thing that AI will never be able to create. And maybe I'll regret this comment, maybe, 5, 10, 15 years from now, some AI will be able to do it. It can produce that human-like text, but to me, it just lacks that feeling. It lacks that polish. It lacks that human factor. It lacks me, and allowing me to connect with my subscribers. So when you had mentioned that filler text, it really got me thinking that, yeah, you're absolutely right, that you could produce all this content, but is it relevant? It's going to give information, but is it really relevant and connecting? Is it really interlinking with the other content that you have? Is it really sending that reader or subscriber down that journey that you want them to? Only you can think about that. And that only happens when you're actually writing something and you think, oh yeah, that's great. Now that I've mentioned that, I'm going to mention this. And you think on the fly as you're putting this content together. And I think that's one thing that I don't know if AI is ever going to be able to recreate. I mean, I see all these robots and, things driving trucks and flipping burgers and doing all this stuff, but those are, repeatable tasks. When you're tasking AI to do something that drives emotion, it's getting there, but I don't. I just feel weird having them write something that's kind of salesy and hypey that doesn't fit my style and my voice.
Does it need to be written?
Yeah.
just because the AI can write it, does it need to be written? I think, that was really where I was going with that is, yeah, you're creating a new blog and the AI is outputting all this content. And yeah, it checks off everything. It makes sense. You read it and it reads correctly. But where is the passion? Where is the story? Where is the connection? Where is the point? Why am I reading this blog? And again, some of the stuff that I've seen where the person that has created the AI, the tool, and they have specifically trained it to understand and know based upon the content that that person has already written, and that AI starts to emulate that person's tone and the way that they tell their story, then I think it's very powerful. But I don't think most people, because they are lazy, and I'm raising my hand as well right here on the podcast and on the YouTube channel. Of course I'm lazy, just as lazy as the next person, maybe even lazier. I want the robot to do it for me. Like you said, you know what I mean? I have a microwave, my goodness. I want my, my food to be heated up. I don't want to wait around for it. So, but does it need to be written? Is this content that you're creating, is it doing what you need it to do? Is there a reason for it? I mean, how much junk is on the internet? You know what I mean? It's like when you think about going to space, right? Going to outer space and there's all this space junk floating around out there. You know what I mean? How much internet junk, just trash, is on the internet? And I'm not saying that any particular AI or AI itself is creating trash, but is it just taking up valuable resources and space and time that doesn't benefit anyone?
Yeah. And that's a very important question. I'm sure there's a ton of junk out there. Not only AI produced, but human produced as well. A ton of, probably I've got my small little footprint out there as well, folks. I got stuff floating around there that, Gary calls junk. I definitely have a lot of them. But yeah, I agree with you on that. I guess it's almost like, we want to produce all this content, but we don't want to think about it. But yet we want to make all this money selling it and connecting people to our products. And I think what AI to me ultimately lacks is just that human connection. And that human connection only comes from you, from within, that you make when you put pen to paper or when you type on your keyboard and you write your email or your article. And AI, yeah, it'll help you write that kind of stuff, but is it really you? Is it really what you stand for? Like Gary said, your ethos? No. I think that you have to add that to the mix. And these AI tools, I'm assuming that they learn how you write, but I I just don't feel like it's there yet. And I really like the fact that I can create this content, or I can create this information that people are going to consume, that is mine, that is definitely mine, and I can connect with them in a totally different level.
Yeah. So as we do the affiliate files and we tell you the truth about making money online, the truth is in 2023, when we have an AI that joins us as, the third member of the affiliate files, and he's producing all this content, and me and Ken are just sitting here listening to him, maybe our story's going to change, right? We're just sitting here going, all right, we press the go button. We press the go button on the AI and it spits out the truth about making money online. Well, all right, then I guess that's where we're going to be. And I guess I'm going to be okay with the robot taking over.
As long as it doesn't take my paycheck.
Right. Don't be trying to cash my checks. I draw the line at the robot, taking my check to the bank and cashing it. Like I'm gonna have to keep doing that. Right. So I think that's where we're at with artificial intelligence, and content creation. I mean, just thinking, are the robots really going to take over, and are we ready for it? And should we be letting them create content? Is it valuable? Is it helping? Is it enhancing the conversation that we're trying to be a part of in whatever our market is, our niche is? You know what I mean? We're out there trying to raise those vegan puppies, is the AI really helping us?
Yeah. We have to provide the inspiration. That's what it is
That's it.
for the content to happen. It
Yeah,
comes from within, and then the AI can assist in expanding upon that, I think.
for sure. And with that, I'm going to say, if you would like a transcript of the affiliate files, take out a pen and paper, write like an SOB, because this ain't no Oprah. He's Ken. I'm Gary, and we'll talk to you later. Bye.